Welcome to Bonafide Dialogues.
In a world that's always racing forward, sometimes we need to slow down and reconnect.
Connect genuinely, broaden your perspective, and share your passion.
Bonafide Dialogues, where authenticity, creativity, and passion merge.
What is up, Christina? Nice to see you again. Excited to be here.
Yes, it's nice to have you back. We had an amazing feedback from our listeners, and there's so much more they want to learn from you. And today's episode will be focused on subconscious mind, shadow work, and a big question, purpose of life.
So big topics.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah, let's go for it. So the subconscious mind and the unconscious mind are the same thing. You know, there's some people that will feel very partial to the word unconscious. I typically roll with subconscious because I think more people are familiar with that. That said, I do use these words interchangeably. One of the interesting things about the subconscious mind is that in any given moment, we're processing over 2 million bits of information, yet only 126 make it to our conscious awareness. So that little piece of scientific evidence points to it makes sense to have a student mindset because we're not always going to get everything coming through. So the subconscious mind makes up 95% of our awareness, and that's everything we don't have access to, whether it's thoughts, feelings, behaviors, habits, patterns, all these type of things. And I know we'll weave this into the shadow and get deeper into shadow work, but the shadow is a term coined by the Swiss psychiatrist, the late Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, and basically all that means is to make the unconscious conscious. So now understanding that our unconscious or subconscious makes up 95%, everything that we don't have access to, the shadow work is to shine a light on that thing. The shadow is not bad. A lot of people think that shadow work or the shadow is bad. It's what makes something
mysterious.
Yeah, what makes something good or bad is putting the label on it, right? But it just is. So we'll get deeper into that. So now we have this foundation of 95% of our awareness is everything we don't have access to. Let's revisit that in any given moment, we're processing over 2 million bits of information and only 126 make it to our conscious awareness. So how that happens is there's typically the external event. Something outside of you happens, right? And then we need to process that for it to make sense. So that goes through a filtration system of deletion, distortion, and generalization. That's how we go from 2 million to 126. Deleting whatever we don't need, distorting, adjusting it to make sense for our belief system, and generalization just being association with something else that we understand, right? And from there, that creates what's called an IR, an internal representation of that external event. Then the IR creates our new actions, habits, and behaviors. So in terms of just like a basic foundational understanding of the subconscious mind, that's a good place to start.
I have my notes, which are very simplified version of how to understand the difference between subconscious and conscious mind. So the first one, in terms of awareness, conscious mind, the part you're actively aware of, it includes thoughts, decisions, and attention. Subconscious mind works in the background. It stores information and beliefs you're not currently thinking about, but still influence you. Second point to pay attention to is functions. Conscious mind is logical thinking, problem solving, willpower, and short-term memory, making choices in the moment. Subconscious, it's our habits and routines, long-term memory, emotional responses, core beliefs, fears, desires, and automatic body function, breathing, heart rate, speed. Conscious, slow and deliberate. Subconscious, fast, automatic is our reactions. Conscious mind can handle only few thoughts at the time. Subconscious processing a large amount of information constantly. Conscious mind guides our intentional actions, and subconscious drive 95% of behavior, often without us realizing it. And access and control, conscious mind, easily accessed. You can reflect and talk about it. Subconscious, harder to reach, often uncovered through dreams, triggers, meditation, and shadow work. We will be covering shadow work today. And I found somewhere this kind of visual representation of conscious and unconscious mind. If you think about an iceberg, the small tip above the water represents the conscious mind, and the large part underneath represents the subconscious mind.
Totally. And the subconscious often understands things with like metaphors, storytelling, examples, and things like that. So, to speak straight to the listener's unconscious mind, I'll give a quick example. Like in my previous career, I was an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. I ended up being named Silicon Valley's 40 under 40 list and built a seven-figure business while working less than 4 hours a day. Now, that led me to extreme burnout. And that's what led to my spiritual awakening. In the process of going through this awakening process, I realized that on a subconscious level, I was saying to myself, when I achieve ABC, I will feel XYZ. Now, I wasn't like, hey, when I'm named to Silicon Valley's 40 under 40 list, then I'm going to feel worthy. I wasn't consciously aware of that, but that was what was operating on a subconscious level that built my drive and determination.
And they say that many subconscious programs are being written in our childhood, in the first 7 years of our lives. But I read somewhere that this program is also written on the genetic level.
100%. Yeah, like epigenetics, pretty much. And there's something that I do with my clients called mental emotional release. It's also known as timeline therapy. It's been around for 40 years, and it's what Tony Robbins leverages in a lot of ways with his clients. It learned from the same people, right? And mental emotional release, one of the things that we do when we get to the root of that behavior or that pattern or that limiting belief or that negative emotion or even trauma, even complex PTSD, one of the questions is, if you were to know, was it before or after your birth? Okay, it was before. Well, was it was it passed down to you genealogically or from a past life? And then the person answers genealogically. Like, this is the way we work
Those
with our
fears,
clients to
for
get to the
example,
root.
right?
Yeah,
Some
exactly. It could
fears.
be a whole bunch of things. Yeah.
And there's another point. Yes, it can be passed to you from your parents, grandparents. It also could be some event that happened to you last year, because many people focus on this childhood stage that, yes, everything, was written subconsciously while you were little, and you need to dive into that period. But realistically, there are some subconscious programs that are written like a year ago, maybe yesterday something happened, and you do not realize that there's something that affects you. It's not some event from your childhood.
Yeah, we call that emotional baggage, and why that happens is because of compartmentalization. And did we talk about compartmentalization on the previous pod? I don't recall.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so people compartmentalize because they think it's actually a good thing. Well, it's not, because there are many dangers of compartmentalization. While compartmentalizing can help you in the moment, what most people do on a subconscious level is they put that thing coming up, that thought, that feeling, that belief, whatever it is, they put it in a box and they wrap it up with duct tape and they put it in the back recesses of their mind to never address again so that they can be present in the moment. Well, what they're actually doing is creating more emotional baggage. So that's why you might be feeling heavy or whatever it is from something that happened yesterday or a few weeks ago, or to your point, maybe a few months or a year ago. And you're right. We don't always have to go all the way back to our childhood. We just need to learn how to process things in real time so that we don't compartmentalize. If we are going to compartmentalize, then we can leverage the breath method before we put our head to bed at night to release what came up during the day so we don't need to carry it with us.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think that that's important to mention this time frame when we go to sleep every night. That that time between you being awake and you falling asleep, then we're in this state when our subconscious mind can absorb a lot of information. And many people watch TV and there's some bad news and their subconscious mind is processing all that information. Like I've been always very conscious about it for myself, for my children. What do you think about that?
100%. And there's obviously news, but also, like, say you're watching a scary movie or a scary show, a thriller or something like that, and then you go to bed and you have nightmares and you wake up and you don't feel well, or maybe you don't remember what your dreams were, but you wake up and you don't feel well and you feel a little depressed. Well, what did you put in your mind right before you went to sleep? From a neuroscience point of view, what's going on is our brainwave states are shifting from beta into theta, and when we get into theta, that's like when we're drifting off to sleep and when we're first waking up in the morning or when we're meditating and doing breath work, a more relaxed state. We're actually able to rewire neural pathways to create new neural networks. So the question is, are those new neural networks that we're creating actually serving us or destroying us slowly? Right?
You can use it for yourself like in a positive way, right? Well, when you're
Mm-hmm.
falling asleep, you can listen to something that will benefit you.
Yeah, you can listen to something, you can listen to binaural beats, you can listen to like a meditation where someone's repeating affirmations over and over again. Maybe it's yourself, or you can just sit there
Music,
and
maybe, right? Some
yeah,
good music with.
yeah, like binaural beats are great. That's really good for the brain. You could do a certain frequency that gets you into REM, leveraging like delta brainwave states in the binaural beats. But like even right now, I have binaural beats playing. I have it play throughout the day while I'm just working, and it just keeps me in a more calm and grounded state so that I'm not feeling stressed. And when you're drifting to sleep, a simple practice is just like lying there in bed and just being like, how am I feeling right now? How do I want to feel in the morning? And if prayer is something that resonates with you because you're religious or spiritual or whatever else, it's a great time to pray. If not, that's cool too. You can just ask yourself these questions like, how do I feel right now? So that you can move through whatever you compartmentalize to do your shadow work, then drift off to sleep. And you always want to end it on a positive. So you want like, ask for something better. If you're praying or if you're doing affirmations, you want to say an I am statement, because your subconscious mind is like a 5-year-old. So say you're working with confidence and you're like, okay, I want to feel more confident. So you say, I want to feel more confident, or I will feel more confident,
I
anything
am
like that.
confident, yes.
Well, what's happening there is your subconscious mind hears, oh, okay, we're not that currently, so we're going to drift you off to sleep, create more neural networks of you not being confident. So then when you wake up in the morning, you're going to have more experiences of not being confident, which is why you would say I am statements. So it's in your present mind. So your subconscious mind, that's like a 5-year-old, goes, oh, we are confident. So then you're drifting asleep feeling good. You're feeling confident. You wake up in the morning. And because everything you experience in the outer world is a reflection of your inner world, you get more experiences in your life of being confident.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
this is such a great tool for everybody because we forget many people fall asleep, and when they fall asleep, they think about their problems and the issues that they need to work on the next day, right? End your day, like you said, on the positive note. Say some good things, like you said, using I am a phrase. I am confident. I'm strong. What else is good?
Well, I'm
Whatever works
worthy.
for you, right?
I
Whatever
think
you need.
I think worthiness is the core wound of our society, and there's a lot of people that don't feel worthy and they don't even know it, right? But whatever the thing is that you're working through, like I am energetic, I am full of vitality, I feel enthusiastic about the work that I'm doing. I am full of unconditional love, something like that.
That's a good
Whatever it
one.
is
Yeah,
for
I
you.
am. Yeah,
Yeah.
remember, I am. Not
Mhm.
I will. I am.
That's it. I think there's a lot of great talk about mental health right now, but where people are missing the boat is on emotional health. It's amazing that we're talking about mental health and we're starting to destigmatize it. And the next wave is going to be emotional health. So for your listeners, if you consider yourself an early adopter, like listen up and take notes on emotional health, because thoughts are the language of the mind and feelings are the language of the body. So your thoughts relate to mental health and feelings relate to emotional health. What's happening with most teachers or lessons or the narrative of mental health is like, hey, you don't want to feel that uncomfortable feeling? Well, then don't feel it. Don't that thought that's coming through, like notice the thought and let the thought go on by. Well, here's what the science behind that. Every time you have a thought, that sends a signal to your body. And remember that your thoughts are mental health and those feelings are emotional health. When that thought sends a signal to your body, that creates a feeling. And because we're told not to feel that thing, either from a young age or because of how mental health is positioned, just whatever it is for you, we start to disassociate, we disconnect, and we avoid on a subconscious level that feeling, and that feeling gets trapped in the body, and we get stuck in mental loops. So we tell people more and more, just think positive. That's the worst advice you can ever get, because science teaches that we can move through these uncomfortable feelings in as little as 90 seconds. We have a physiological response. It sends a whole host of chemicals, and if we allow ourselves to feel those feelings, then we can invoke the power of positive thinking and those I am affirmations on the other side. So I have a free community called Breath Club, where every single week I lead people through breath work in real time, online community. It's free. And I also do deep dives with people, and I'm a keynote speaker as well. So for one-on-one coaching, we can reprogram your entire subconscious mind. That's MER, mental emotional release. What I talked about briefly earlier, that like having that Tony Robbins level transformation. It's literally the same tools that he utilizes. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you can absolutely feel free to hit me up and we can talk more about it.
No, that's great. And I love the point you just mentioned, that you need to feel whatever you feel, right? You went through some event and you're feeling sad and you want to cry. And I'm looking back at my childhood. My parents raised me well. If I felt that something is unfair and I wanted to cry, my parents would say, cry, It's like they're not trying to stop me from being upset. Like, feel those emotions and then you can move on after you process it. I think this is something that we're missing. We're all about positivity, but life is not always smiles and happiness and always seeing. It's good to see good things even in bad situation, but realistically, you don't want to close the door to whatever happened. You need to feel it, you need to process it, and then move on, and maybe then think about good things that may come out of that situation or that specific event.
Yeah, that's what my breath method is for, that I teach in Breath Club, and what my last book, Overcome the Overwhelm, was all about. But basically it walks you through a process of doing your shadow work. It's all framed in rewiring the subconscious mind, regulating the nervous system. And after we do the shadow work, then we can invoke the power of the positive thinking, and then ask ourselves the simple question: as a result of what came up, what actions, habits, or behaviors can I take, so that we can actually create that transformation on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis.
Shadow work sounds interesting, but it's actually a very good tool that many of us can use.
Yeah, absolutely. Love this topic. So, a lot of times, well, let's just go back to the top, what we mentioned earlier, just a refresher, because you're only consciously aware 5% and processing 2 million bits, and only 126 make it through. So let's make sure this makes it into your 126. Your subconscious or your unconscious mind makes up 95% of your awareness, and all shadow work is to make the unconscious conscious. So whatever actions, habits, behaviors, limiting beliefs, thoughts, feelings that you're not aware of, we're going to bring those to the surface.
Why would you want to do it?
Because that creates the emotional baggage, like we talked about earlier with compartmentalization. If you don't allow yourself to feel that way, then you're going to be operating on that way of being, and it's not serving you. If there are any areas in your life that you're unhappy with, then you're going to want to do this work, because it's your subconscious that's driving your life. Go back to my example. I was crushing on the outside, right? I had a 7-figure business working less than 4 hours a day, named to Silicon Valley's 40 under 40 list. Yeah, I was numbingly depressed. And then when I did the work, I realized, oh, on a subconscious level, I was operating on when I achieve ABC, I will feel XYZ. So now knowing that, I'm operating from a place of be, do, have. But back then, I was operating from let me do the thing, I'll have what I want, then I'll have time to be. Where the correct model is operate from a beingness, then do the thing, and then you'll have that end result. And a lot of people don't know that because we're not taught that. So all of these reasons are why we want to do our shadow work.
As you said, 95% of information is being processed on subconscious level. And you mentioned that let's shine the light on it, but not everything. There's something that triggers you, something that you want to fix, right?
Like, for example, this happened to me today, actually, where I think I was taking a shower or something like that. I was like rubbing the soap really fast and putting it on my body and whatever else. And I'm like, why am I moving so fast? Because normally I move slow, right? And I was just around some people for consecutive days that are very, and that's called energetic hygiene. So then that was an opportunity for me to be like, okay, I am moving really fast right now. This doesn't feel good. This isn't my pace. I don't need to rush. Let me slow down. When we do our shadow work, it's in every aspect of our life where we start to get curious, like, hey, why am I doing this thing? Right now I'm drinking some bone broth and it tastes so good, and I just keep drinking it over and over and over again. And normally I don't drink bone broth, right? I'm switching things up. Like if you always wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, I have my
That's
coffee.
what I've been doing lately too, drinking a lot of bone broth. So good for your gut.
Yeah, it's funny. Good synchronicity there. Another term coined by Carl Jung. But yeah, when you wake up in the morning, if like first thing automatic behavior is like, let me get my coffee in, maybe just pause and be like, how do I feel right now? Do I actually want / feel like I need coffee, right? Most of what we do is all autopilot. So when you start to do this work, yeah, autopilot, it starts to become like a game. Like, hey, why am I doing this thing? Does it make sense for me to continue doing that thing? Or how am I feeling right now? It's building moment to moment awareness, basically. Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to clarify why we're doing this, right? Why this shadow work could be helpful to anyone. Why, and then how do you actually identify the issues that you need to work on if you don't know what's on your subconscious mind? And I feel like one of the ways to do it is look at your triggers, right? And another point that you just mentioned, look at the things that you're doing on autopilot.
I think this is where most people go wrong with shadow work. You know, they think that like, ooh, the shadow is like bad, right? It's this bad, dark side of me. And like, that's the whole thought of
I
like,
want to uncover it, right?
yeah. And that's the whole thought of like the ego is the enemy and creating like this dichotomy. Whereas the opposite is about bringing yourself in homeostasis, as opposed to creating an enemy. We're creating homeostasis, inner harmony, and integration of the different parts of ourselves to make them whole. So as opposed to us looking at shadow work of like this scary, hard, challenging, dark, or bad part of ourselves, we can look at in every part of ourselves just getting curious why we do the things we do. Will there be certain things that reveal quote unquote, to put a label on it, like bad parts of ourselves? Sure. Like, for example, to your point with triggers, right? If we want to start with our triggers and be like, okay, I feel like I'm always getting triggered. Why am I getting triggered? I want to do my shadow work. Yeah, for sure, we're going to see some uncomfortable stuff. But to the other point of like waking up in the morning and just drinking coffee and living life on autopilot, maybe you just want more sovereignty and control in your habits, actions, and behaviors, and want to build more presence in your life. That's not going to bring up those heavy things where it's super uncomfortable. It's just going to be like, oh, okay, like I see that I'm just running on or I'm just dependent on coffee. Now, do you want to go deeper than that? Sure. Maybe once we go deeper than being dependent on coffee, we're going to see some things that are uncomfortable potentially. Now, I want to clarify something real quick because a lot of people talk about shadow work like it's something different than quote unquote doing the work. And anytime you're doing the work, that is to say to do personal development or focus on your mindset, your emotional health, any of these sorts of things to become a better person, you're quote unquote doing the work. All shadow work is doing the work, right? Because all the work is about like asking ourselves these questions. Why do I do these things, and bring it to the forefront of your awareness? Now, the only time you're not doing shadow work, because if you're already doing the work, you're doing shadow work. The only time you're not doing it is when that thing gets revealed to you and you say, no, 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 no. I don't want to accept that. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to confront that. Then we're no longer doing the shadow work. It's just like the metaphor of the Russian doll or peeling back layers of an onion. We just are going deeper and deeper and deeper till we see something and we're like, no, 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 no. Then we're not doing it anymore, right?
Yeah. Is there a system to it? Is there some process they need to follow?
Yeah, I use the breath method. It depends on, I think the breath method is the most accessible thing for someone to do. And just real quick, I'll run through it. It's B, breathe to slow down. R, relax to feel. It's priming yourself so you can feel what's coming to the surface. E, energy to reveal. Emotions are energy in motion. So what is this energy revealing to me? A, accept to surrender. Because if it is something uncomfortable, we're going to want to resist it. So we have to accept it. T, transform into empowering beliefs. And then H, habits to integrate. That's a tool you can use on your own to help thousands of people. It's an amazing tool. In addition to that, there's the deep MER work where we rewire your subconscious mind, because the mind is a supercomputer and we don't get a manual for it. So that's why this work of NLP and MER goes into rewire that subconscious mind, all of that shadow work.
The way I think I understand it now, in order to approach any issue that you think needs to be addressed and maybe you've been avoiding for a long time, it's first to recognize those issues. And like we said, there are two different ways to go about it. Look at your patterns, behavioral patterns, or look at your triggers, like why I'm always being triggered by this person doing this, or somebody's lazy and it triggers you, or somebody's liar and you just can't stand it. It's like where it's coming from, why I'm being so triggered by this. And the next step would be just to understand, to be aware of it. And then
Yeah, let's pause right there. So if we're talking about a trigger and why is this person triggering me, and it's not about the other person.
exactly.
It's never about the other person. It's about what emotion, what feeling, what thought, what belief, whatever is coming up for me right now, because that other person is a mirror to show me where I need to do the work. That's the shadow work right there. To get stuck in, okay, this other person is triggering me, so then I need to go blow off some steam, or I need to have a tough conversation with this person to tell me, or to tell them why they're triggering me, is not shadow work. The shadow work part is being like, okay, they're a mirror for me. It's not about them. It's about what's coming up inside of me. Now, how am I going to resolve that?
Yeah, and some people would think, why do I have to resolve it? It's them, but why is it us, not them?
because everything is a mirror in this universe, in this human experience, and this gets to the last part you wanted to talk about, right? And this is the deeply spiritual part, that there's one infinite consciousness. There's one creator. If you want to think of a man in the sky, that's God. Sure, that's cool. If you want to think creator, source energy, or whatever it is, that's cool too. It doesn't really matter. There's that one consciousness that's split off in separation to experience itself. So everything that's coming up in your life has to do with soul contracts, which is basically like the Pixar movie Soul. They do a great job of just showing how soul contracts work. It's like, hey, we're going to go into this human experience. We're going to go through this thing called the veil of forgetting. So we're not going to remember this conversation right now. But when we're going to go down there, you're going to be your mom, or you're going to be my mom, and I'm going to be your son. Or you're going to be my wife, and I'm going to be your husband. Oh, you're going to be my wife, but we're actually going to get into some heavy type of thing, and it's going to feel very hard. And maybe we'll make it through it. Maybe we won't, but it's going to help us to evolve. Whatever the situation is, that's what a soul contract is. And then the karmic piece is this soul growth, being like, okay, we're here to learn these lessons. So when these things come up, they're all happening for you, right? They're not happening to you. And in fact, they're not even happening for you. They're happening with you, because you are a co-creator of your reality. So this is the part of it where you can tell in my voice, like, I get super excited, because this is the fun part, right? Like, we're here for this limited experience, like maybe 70, maybe 100 years, maybe shorter, right? And then after that, what's going to happen? This is the play that we're playing in this current timeline, in this current incarnation, in this time of Earth. So let's have fun with it. Let's grow. Let's realize that it's not all so serious. And at the end of the day, it is all so simple. We just overcomplicate it as humans, and that's okay. When we have that level of understanding, it makes us so much able to, it makes it more accessible to zoom out and not look at the situation at hand, and not take ourselves or the situation or the other person so serious.
And that's your belief. And how did you come to this conclusion?
A lot of work, a lot of shadow work, a lot of spiritual texts, a lot of felt experiences, a lot of learning from other mystics and spiritual teachers and gurus, learning about quantum physics, quantum entanglement, self-study. Like, I mean, you name it. This has been
Quite a journey.
one. Yeah, it's been what I've been all about for the past 6 years to help me overcome that numbing depression. I'm the type of person that's like, I go all in on something, right? So if I'm interested in this, I'm like going all in. I know a lot of people that are into this kind of stuff, and they're like, whoa, that's cool. And then they just kind of go back to their life, and they still have like this belief, but they don't go quite as deep. Like for me, like it is part of, if you want to say, like my purpose, right, is to understand this and to embody it and be able to articulate it in a simple way for others as they're going through this transitioning period, to be a bridge for other people to walk this path.
Yeah, and some people can believe in the soul contract. Some people have different beliefs, but I wanted to go back to this concept of mirror. When you have a conflict with another person, and something is being triggered inside of you, it's not them, it's you. It's something you need to fix within you. So could you elaborate on that a little bit? I think that would be helpful to many people.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're dealing with something, whether it's a spouse, a child, a parent, a coworker, a vendor, whatever it might be, even a client, it could be, what that feeling that's coming up within you, that's the thing that's unresolved. That's the thing that's a recurring pattern in likely a lot of other areas of your life. And when you get curious and you start to resolve it, not necessarily fix it, but resolve it and address it and accept it and transform it, then everything else is going to open up for you, because you'll no longer have that pattern mirrored to you in other circumstances of your life.
So when you work on it and you figured it out, it's not going to come up as often in your life. That's what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. It's not like it's not going to happen, but you're not going to react the same way, right?
It shouldn't. Okay, so that's getting to an interesting question. It's not so much that it's going to happen again, and it's about your reaction. If you are resolving that thing, you've learned the lesson. It's like a video game, and you've passed that checkpoint, and now you're moving on to something else. You're likely going to experience a different circumstance of something, and you wouldn't re-experience the same thing. If you're re-experiencing the same thing, you didn't
You
learn the
didn't
lesson.
learn the lesson.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
still there for you.
Yeah, which is why it's important to go deep.
The purpose of life.
So I wanted us to discuss the purpose of life. It's a big question that all of us, I think about at some point in our lives. And as a society, as humans, all humans, I think, have the purpose to survive. As humanity, we need to reproduce. I think this is kind of shared purpose for us to survive as humanity. But also, each and every one of us always wonders what's my purpose on earth. From my point of view, it's love and share love, and every one of us can find our own purpose in our everyday life. It doesn't have to be something big, but whatever it is, whatever brings you joy and gives you that satisfaction in your life. Let's listen to your theory.
Yeah, Christine, thank you. Mine's very similar to that, and I'll just use the disclaimer that these are my beliefs based off of my own spiritual texts that I've read, others, people, mentors that I've studied under, and my own lived experience, along with even checking out things like near-death experience accounts, NDEs. So, having said all that, for me, I think of it kind of like I said earlier. The reason why we're here is to experience itself. There's the creator, and there just is. There isn't time and space outside of this human experience in third dimensional reality here on Earth, and it's hard for us to conceptually understand that. So that's my understanding and my belief why we've split off in separation into physical form, and then that goes through the soul contracts, the karma. But just to keep this super simple, I believe that we're here to experience everything, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the right, the wrong. We're here to experience it all. And with that, I think a lot of people get caught up in what is my individual purpose. So I'm glad you brought that up, because for me, I am a massive believer of the outer world being a direct reflection of the inner world. And I believe that energy of what's my purpose inside creates lack of worthiness. It might create fear. It might create shame that you're not doing enough. It's creating these low vibration frequencies within you, and that projects outwardly to give you more of those experiences reflected back to you. So I actually believe the easiest, not the most effective way to look at purpose is to bring your inner world in order, to practice unconditional self-love for yourself, and then allow that to reflect outwardly. I do not believe that we have grandiose purposes like to save humanity or to save the earth. I believe we have different tracks that have to do with our passions, and like what the movie Soul would say, what our spark is, our passions, right? But in terms of purpose, just bring yourself back in inner homeostasis and bring yourself back into balance, and practicing unconditional love for yourself and others.
I think it's beautiful. Practice unconditional love for yourself and others.